Hi, everybody. Coming to you today with some background information about how you would teach some wonder words using the anchor word approach. So this term wonder words is a term that I use that I mean for it to replace terms like irregular words, tricky words, heart words, sight words, rule breakers. There's many words, terms that we use to describe these words that, quite frankly, we just often say to kids, well, you just have to memorize those, which is very unsatisfying, number one. Number two, we're asking kids to do something that is difficult for them. I mean, if they could memorize words, then supposedly, these are words that they see a lot and use a lot in their speaking and writing. So if they could have memorized them, they would have. So I use this word wonder words because we wonder, why is that word spelled that way? And that entire line of thinking is also the result of our assumption that the purpose of writing is to represent sound directly. And the fact is that that is not the purpose of our writing system. Our English orthography is not meant to represent sound directly, and it never claimed to do that. What its job is to represent the pronunciation of meaning. So we want to make sure that our reader understands what we mean when they see what we write. So that is the lens through which we will always be thinking about and looking at words. What do they mean? And while English does have many really reliable, quote unquote, correspondences between phonemes and graphemes, it certainly is not 100%. It's really not what is called it's not a transparent orthography. It's actually more opaque, meaning there is less of that one-to-one correspondence than might be true in other languages. Other languages do have more of a one-to-one match between symbol and sound, or letter and sound. So I wanted to show you again, this is one technique for teaching these wonder words. And by talking about something called an anchor word. So I wanted to talk today about these four words in particular, the words that kids often use. They see them in writing, they see them when they read, and they also want to use them in their writing. And yet these might be words that we used to have called heart words or tricky words or irregular words or whatever word term we would use for these. Maybe they go up on your word wall, right? So, but if we think about them in terms of, again, meaning, if we understand that the meaningful connections between words in English can be revealed by their spelling. In fact, that's what English wants to do. Written English wants to help us as readers understand and see connections between meaningful words. So when we present this group of words right here, we might start with the word them. And if we're taking an approach that talks about meaning, then we want to make sure students understand what that word them means. You cannot write a word unless you know what it means. So them, what do we mean by them? Well, we certainly use that word a lot. Like maybe I might say, I want to go with them. I could have I could give a sentence to the student. I could ask them to use the word in a sentence. there's many different ways to get to, rather than just by saying, what does the word them mean? Okay, students, when you ask that of any word, they're like, well, you know, them. Okay, it's very hard to give a definition of a word for an adult even to do that. So can you use it in a sentence? Can you tell me an example of them? Right, give me an example. So for this one, I might say, so do you want to go with them? Do you want to go with them to see the movie? So what am I talking about there when I say them? Well, I'm talking about people in that sentence, right? A group of people that's not including me, right? Do you want to go with them? Those people over there. Okay, so a group of people, not including me. And okay, so once that is established, you will then establish the meaningful connection to these other words. So how about they? Does they seem like it goes with or means kind of the same thing or a similar thing as them? For example, they will go to the movie tomorrow. Is that talking about a group of people, not including me? Yeah. Okay, then we have T-H-E-I-R, there. So them, they, there. Does there, spelled like this, T-H-E-I-R, have to do with a group of people? And again, depending on the age of your student, depending on lots of different factors, you will be the one to know best. You can have them try to use that word in a sentence. You can also just give them a sentence. Okay, that's perfectly fine. Let's see. Their dog is named Alice. Okay, their dog is named Alice. So does that, in that sentence, their dog is named Alice, does their mean a group of people, not including me? Yeah. Right, their dog, those people over there have a dog named Alice. Their dog. Okay, good. And then we have T-H-E-Y apostrophe R-E, which is also pronounced there. And let me give you a example. They're not going to the swimming pool tomorrow. They're not going to the swimming pool tomorrow. Okay, so again, you might not talk about this one yet. You might, if you haven't talked about contractions, then I would not use this one. You're not going to try to teach what contractions are in the same lesson as you do this lesson. Okay, but if you have, then you can see the path that you're going on here. What do we call that mark right there? It's an apostrophe. And what does it mean? It means, it could mean that we've left out a letter or letters, and it's actually two words we're putting together, da, 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 da. Okay, so what I'm talking to you about right now, though, is not a lesson about contractions. So what I'm saying is, if you don't want to use this one yet, then don't. Just study them, they, and their. Or you could just study them and they and not study their and they. Okay, completely up to you. That's the great thing about these. You can always come back later and say, oh, you know what? We have a new word to add to our them and they family. Because this is a word family. Why? Because families are people you are meaningfully related to. So word families are not cat, hat, sat, mat, fat, bat. Do those words mean anything that's the same? No. Meaningful connections between words make a word family. So when I talk about, so now we know what the words mean, right? We've proven that. And now we've used them in a sentence, right? Given examples maybe. Now we're going to pick one of them, in this case, T-H-E-M, that we can anchor for kids. That's the one they're going to think about first, the one they're going to bring to mind first when they think about these other words. And the reason we'll do that is because we might have taught them that them is th-e-m. T-H-E-M. Okay, one of those, we like that word them, don't we? As teachers, we're like, oh, yay. One sound gets one symbol, right? Sound to symbol correspondence here. Great, yay, we like it. T-H-E-M. Okay, so now we're physically looking at the words and we know how to spell them. Now, what do we notice about these words? Them, they, their. What else do we see that's the same in how they are spelled? What do we see that's the same in all the words? And you might get lots of different answers. And if you don't want to take that approach and you want to be much more direct, just say to the student, all of these words have the letters T-H-E. And let's highlight that. What do they all have? T-H-E. Does this word have T-H-E? Sure does. We can highlight it. Does this have T-H-E? Yep, sure does. And this one, T-H-E? Absolutely, very good. So they all share, their spellings share something in common because they mean similar things. Okay, so do you see how our anchor word then, them, when we're trying to spell the word they, their, or their, we can think about them, think about how that is spelled. Remember that it starts with T-H-E, and then I have to just remember that, and this again requires direct instruction, that they then is T-H-E-Y. There, as in it's their house, T-H-E-I-R. There, as in they are, T-H-E-Y apostrophe R-E. Okay, so this again is the idea of using an anchor word for learning a set of wonder words. And you get really a lot of bang for your buck here. There's no reason to teach these words separately from each other. Again, only in the sense of if you don't want to do all of them at once, that's fine. But you can see where even if you do them and they, you can come back later and do their, T-H-E-I-R, and then even T-H-E-Y apostrophe R-E, okay? There are other techniques for teaching wonder words. Using a word matrix and also a verb conjugation chart. And so those will be in a different video. So thank you very much. And I will see you again soon.